Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I'm very pleased because I am sitting across from Jess Paul. Hey, Jess.
Here we are.
We are here. We're in the same room. We're not on Zoom. We're talking
We're looking at each other's faces.
We are. And we're talking on fancy mics that, I will brag, so many motherfuckers have started and stopped podcasting these days that I was able to go on eBay and buy used podcasting mics, right? Because I started this thing in 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is year 7.
That
In fact,
before the
you're going to be
podcast.
like, your podcasts are going to be like numbers 500 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't stop. I have.
You just love
I have
talking
issues.
to people.
I have issues. I love talking to
That's
people.
the best quality to have, and then you freaking monetize it.
And the worst thing is, I work from home and I love people. So yeah, this actually helps me.
You figured it out, Jeff.
I have no water. This might be my water cooler.
Yes.
It's all about me. All right.
No, I love this.
Yes. So Jess is here because your film, Bearing Baby, was at Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2024, took home the Programmer's Prize for Exceptional Filmmaking. It's an excellent film. People can't watch it yet, but if and when you release it to the world online or whatever happens, we'll throw in a clickable link to where people can watch it because it's a great film.
Thank you.
It touches me. And, I'm an old fart who has a hard time feeling feelings. Actually,
Yeah.
I feel... whatever.
Yeah, I get you.
Actually, that's one of the purposes of art, right?
Yes.
Is to... Actually, I one of my favorite quotes, well, I believe it was Gary Oldman playing Beethoven in Immortal Beloved.
Okay.
Where Beethoven said, the purpose of music is that the composer can put... by listening to the music, the emotions of the composer enter the listener.
Oh, wow.
Like it makes you feel. I think that the point is it makes you feel. And that's the point of art, is it makes us feel.
And that's a great quote because we're going to be talking about
I
music.
pulled that out of my fucking ass. That was pure improv. All right. So that's Bearing Baby. And if you want to learn all about Jess and her film and her personal history, listen to the podcast before this one. This one is
You'll know
officially...
too much about me. You're going to be like, I don't know who this person is, and
They're going to be like, that Jeff guy
much.
did not... did not do a very good job.
What are you talking about? I didn't even let you talk. Like, I just took over, and you perfectly, choreographed this conversation. You were a great host.
Well, thank you. All right, so this is technically a 4 questions episode of the podcast, and the 4 questions start out as, in the world of film, name 3 favorite films, an underrated film, an overrated film, and a lesser-known film that people should seek out. But we did discover I'm a crazy music nerd for my whole life, and you are so into music that you were a YouTube creator with a music show. Mm-hmm. So you're going to incorporate music into your 4. So let's just do it.
Let's do it. I actually have done a top 5 of my favorite. It was horror movie soundtracks. That is so niche, but I was able to pick 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I could name my favorite soundtrack of all time.
What is it?
The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
What is that?
A brilliant film from Peter Greenaway out of England, and this composer Michael Nyman composed the music for it. And actually,
it's a score.
I'll share it with you. It's a score, but it actually is a piece. I believe the piece is called Memoriam, and he wrote it to be performed by a chamber. It's not an orchestra. It's more, I think it's about 10 to 15 instruments from an orchestra. And there was this huge empty concrete cube that was like a power station that was built but not completed. And he was commissioned to write this piece in there. So he wrote it with these thundering stuff with the winds and the violins and the strings and the brass and the woodwinds. And it was written that way so the sound would bounce off these concrete walls.
Jeff, that is a crazy answer. That is such a deep cut. I have not only never heard of that film, but I have never heard of that. I've never heard of a chamber. as far as music goes. I have never heard of that technique. That is so unique.
It's fucking rad. Well, I do recommend the film Helen Mirren, a somewhat younger Helen Mirren, and as a callback to your interview podcast, there's a lot of hot sex in the film. She gives some great blowjobs in that film.
There we go.
Because she is the wife and her lover. The cook, the thief, the wife, and her lover. Anyway, and you get to see a young Tim Roth. Anyway, highly recommend that film.
Okay, I'm gonna have
and
to
the sound.
that.
I'll just give you a copy of the soundtrack because I think they've made their money. I think the film came out in the late '80s, so I don't feel bad.
Like
I think they sold enough
have
copies of the
trouble
soundtrack.
finding.
Yeah, actually, I think it is a hard one to find.
I bet.
Anyway, so that was an interruption. That was all right. You want to name? So what are you going to do? You going to name some films? You going to name artists?
So we'll do one artist, one film, like go back and forth a little bit here.
Perfect.
So one of my top artists this year, and they're mostly all obscure. There's no one that I like on this list. There's only like one that you might recognize. So the first one is Crosses. Now they spell it with the emojis, but they have to always put crosses in parentheses because that's very hard to Google. So Crosses is kind of it's one of the offshoots of the singer of Deftones, Chino Moreno. He has many offshoot projects. I love his voice, and so he has this one, which I honestly love even a little bit more than Deftones. Deftones is they're often called nu metal. They would hate that. I'm sure at this point they have to just like whatever, embrace it, but they don't think of themselves as such, yet they came up in that era. But yeah, they'd be considered metal. But they have a very unique sound, Deftones does, with, of course, every guitar arrangement, every rock arrangement is unique in its own way. But I've always thought that Chino's vocals were incredibly unique in a way that some people have tried to recreate or at least mimic, but not really have ever succeeded in. So Crosses, the way that I would describe Deftones, which was like my number 5 of this year, I called them vampire sex rock, and that would make Crosses ghost sex rock. So if you're into ghost sex rock, Crosses. Now, one of my favorite movies, like when I name my favorite movies, I can't imagine it's me trying to be pretentious. Like I said, I don't watch a whole lot. I don't go out and see every single movie that comes out in theaters, but one of my favorite movies is one that's a little bit odd and not many people have seen. It's called Mr. Nobody. Have you ever heard of it?
I think I have. Wait, who's in that?
Stars Mr. Jared Leto.
I have heard of it.
And other people. Like I just kind of brought up the cast information here. Diane Kruger, Juno Temple, amongst a couple other people. And it was directed by Jaco Van Dormel, if I even pronounced that right. But it took so many years to create. And we were talking about social media in our other podcast, and a little joke, not joke, that I love to say is my favorite social media is Tumblr, as if I don't still use it, because I still do. Like it is my escape. That social media in essence is a very anonymous social media. Like when you're looking at the photo reams and everything, these blogs, you usually don't see a face to them. It's much more about the aesthetic that the people are creating. And that's why I love Tumblr. But I once saw like a GIF of like the movie, or maybe even an ad. And I'm like, what is this? And so I hunted it down, and it is one of the most easily digestible yet cerebral movies I've ever watched. The theme is about our different choices that we make. Like, what if there was a fork in the road and we could decide and go up one road or the other? Like, there's literally kind of like that fork in the road moment during this movie. And then we tear off to see all the different things that would have happened if our main protagonist, who turns out to be Jared Leto grown up, not not him personally, but he played the he played the main character. What those choices would be like, down to the different people that he marries, or where he ends up professionally, even his personality because of the people that he interacted with. I mean, to a degree. I mean, we're all both subjects of our environment as well as our nature, our nurture and our nature. But you know, things can happen in your life to change who you are a little bit.
Excellent. I only picked up my phone because I have to look at the poster, because I swear I remember the film.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this film.
It's an odd one. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. If you're in
odd is the highest praise.
Yeah.
Often.
And also, I mean, there are movies, like I said, that are sometimes so weird that you don't understand what's going on. But I could very easily kind of draw the tree of the plot, even though that it was kind of nonlinear in places, and it had some, would you call it, kind of departures. Like at some point they put on a little like one person play in the middle of it to illustrate something. But I still very much understood what the film was trying to say the whole time without having to watch a 40-minute video essay. And it's beautifully artistically. There's a lot going on. It's. I will say also, I mentioned about my bedroom, how it's covered every inch of it with color or memorabilia, and this is a very maximalist film. I'm a maximalist, and this just kind of throws the whole kitchen sink at the theme of choice and fate. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, so we've got a band and a movie.
Next band and movie. Okay, we got. Let's talk about a band that maybe people are more familiar with. All my life, Third Eye Blind has been one of my favorite mainstream rock bands. And people are like, Third Eye Blind, that band that like had a couple hits in the late 90s, they kept making music, guys. They kept making music. And like I said, they were my first interview that I had with Rec Radio, and it was a mistake that I got that interview. I was like a year into doing the show, and I knew that you could email the press, the press contact for these bands if they were on the road, and do interviews. My friends across the country that I made from doing my show and just talking to them, like I was in this very niche group of people on YouTube, like music reporters on YouTube. It was a very small group of us. And so I learned like all you have to do is like email the press contact and they'll say yes or no. And so I emailed their manager, and he literally saw my name, Rec Radio, and assumed I was a local radio station. It's like, sure. And then here comes like a 20-year-old in a dress from Hot Topic ready to interview, one of the most famous singers of the late 90s. He put on sunglasses because he was not prepared for a video interview. And my sister also like dropped a light bulb and it shattered inside their trailer and everything. It was so much fun. And at that time too, I was going to say at that time as if I didn't do this the whole time. I was not focused on quality when it came to Rec Radio. I think I alluded to that. And I knew that, a microphone was important for interviewing because when you point at someone's face, they talk. But I didn't have, especially with the camera that I had, it was like this vlogging camera that was being pushed by a bunch of YouTubers called a Sanyo, if anyone remembers. It looks like a little gun somehow. And it didn't have the capability to have an internal microphone or external microphone plugged into it. So I just had a fake microphone that I used. Over time, I evolved. I didn't get a real microphone. I started using soup ladles and Barbie dolls to put in front of people's faces, and that's how I evolved with my interviewing style.
So talk to the ladle, talk to the doll.
Yeah,
that's fun.
It was fun. They like right away it set the tone. Like we're not so serious, and I had fun with lots of bands in that regard. It was very cute. But anyways, Third Eye Blind. They were my childhood, and I grew up with their honestly very adult themes. Have you ever really like listened to the lyrics of Semi-Charmed Life? It's about, and you know what Semi-Charmed Life is? Do 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 do.
Oh yeah.
It's about smoking meth or crack, one of those. Meth, and that's what it's about. And somehow that was like the song of every summer for the next 10 years. And so I love that tongue-in-cheekness. I honestly should, at that point, that was my first interview, so I wasn't really hard-hitting with the questions, but I wish I could have interviewed him again to talk about some of these things, though I'm sure that other people have asked him. But they have continued to evolve. The singer has been in and out of his own turmoil, but they've been a band that I've kind of grown with as they've evolved, and they were always such a band that kept pop sensibilities. Like, they always felt like they belonged on Top 40 radio, even though I always found a lot more depth to them and sentimentality than what you would sometimes find in I don't know, pop music. Yeah. Okay, and so another movie I'll shout out. This is probably the most pretentious one, I guess, but I really liked it. It really fit my super indie style. And it's called Me, You, and Everyone We Know.
I remember that.
Okay, you saw that one? Or at least know about it?
I know about it. Wait, spark my memory.
Yeah, it was made by Miranda July, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I found this. Somebody told me this, and I don't know if I've ever confirmed it, but she made the film out of winning money from a Mountain Dew naming contest. I know that's so specific, and I should have looked that up, but somebody told me that. Maybe it wasn't even that film of hers particularly, but I thought that's what they said. And so right away when somebody told me this, I had to see this movie. It is such a cute slice of life, and it really the part of it that I love are the very authentic actors that she found. Yeah. Especially these two young brothers. There's a little boy in it that is like, he has to be like 3 or 4 years old. And I don't know if she came up with some of the things that they said. They're very naive ideas about sex and sexuality growing up. But I just thought it was so beautifully captured and so sentimental in that way of what this little boy thought sex was. And I always embraced the film for being this, I don't know if you look back on your childhood and just feel so embarrassed about kind of things that you knew before you knew them. But I laugh at those points, I mean, maybe it took a while for me to feel that way, to embrace and kind of accept my own naivety at that time. But I think she did it in a way that was funny and sharp and fun. So if you're into those real slice of life, real like indie features, especially of that time, that would have been like early 2000s, mid-aughts, I don't know what we call that era anymore. Check it out. Check Me, You, and Everyone We Know.
I remember really liking it, and it was, I have it on IMDb. Yeah, 2005.
Yeah?
Holy man, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. I totally remember it. Yeah, John Hawkes.
Is that one of the actors?
Yeah, that's the lead
actor?
guy.
Yeah, I'd never seen him before in anything else, and never again.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, he had a really good moment around then.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of indie, but big indie stuff.
I'm going to have to look up his name and see what else he did.
Winter's Bone?
Oh!
Wasn't he in Winter's Bone?
I don't know. I mean, that's where Jennifer Lawrence got her start, I know.
Yeah, why am I thinking he was...
But I didn't necessarily see that movie. I just know that title because...
Yeah, Winter's Bone, yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, and 3 Billboards he was in. Anyway.
Oh, I didn't see that either, but I learned I'd like it, probably.
All right, well, we don't have to... All right, so...
Yeah.
Right, 2
Get
more.
my own Rex.
Excellent. Well, needless to say... I'm glad I saw that one.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so we're going to do another band.
Sure.
Okay. This is probably one of my favorite bands of the moment. Another one that people have never heard of. But they are called All Them Witches. And they currently have like my favorite song of the moment. They'd be considered like drug rock, psychedelic rock, and like desert rock, and I love just the classic kind of garage guitar sound. I also love that etherealness of like the drug rock era and stuff, and they're just bringing it up to modern day with, clear vocals. And my favorite song that I discovered them on is Don't Bring Me Coffee. And I always love, I've played it in many a car while people were asking me about my favorite music. And it's a very surprising song. Like, a lot of movies can take you by surprise and give you a twist ending or whatever. And this is a song that does that. You kind of think it's going to be one thing, and it really defies expectations. And I don't get that from music a whole lot. And then I just love the song so much that I dove into their other music and just love to be that kid in the 70s that laid on their shag carpet and just kind of rocked out while I was stoned, kind of thing. That's the space I like to go. And I've been to their show a couple times, and I am the person at the concert that annoys everybody because I'm the one like dancing in my own little spot. I try not to hit people, but they also make room for me. So
does that annoy people?
I don't know. I can only assume because
I do that. But
do you?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's awesome.
Of course. How do you not? If you don't move if music doesn't make you move, then what are you doing?
It's so weird because I go to these rock shows and it's the majority of people that are just kind of standing and watching with like their drink in their hand. Which I guess if that's happening, then drink your drink, whatever. But I sometimes will find that other person in the crowd that is in the same little bubble of delusion like me that's just losing their mind inside, and it's always nice to spot those people. But that's a great show that I love to go to and absolutely lose myself in the rock. And a favorite, that's my third favorite movie. I'm going to go to one that maybe people have heard of, if not seen. It's a horror movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies, and it's called Mama.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I saw it.
Yeah.
But I know of it. Guillermo
del Toro produced it. Did not direct it, and it stars Jessica Chastain. This was 2013, and it was. I'm going to butcher his name. Maybe Andre Muschietti. He directed it, and I believe wrote it because it was after a short that he did that was so inspiring, so scary, that they included the entire short with, they redid it, obviously, but it becomes a scene in the main movie. And why I loved it so much is that, I when it comes to horror, I'm not as much of a slasher fan as I am like a ghost story kind of fan. That's my favorite kind of thing. Guillermo del Toro has done quite a few other ghost stories that I've really just latched onto. And so it had a lore behind it, and it also had some really great scare devices that I always believe that the best way to really hike up the suspense and fears by not really fully showing your monster. And you do eventually see Mama, and she's honestly one of the scariest creatures I think I've ever seen. But they hit her along a lot of the movie by either putting her on the ceiling so that you really only saw kind of wisps of clothing, or her, when she literally levitates one of the kids and they're kind of just flying around the ceiling, or with flash bulbs when she goes to attack somebody in her cabin. So it was it was a great creature, but also a really great example of suspense and a great aesthetic. Like I said, a ghost story. Ghost stories are very quiet, and they can be much more quiet than I'll say a slasher movie. They have a certain cinematic look to them often, and that had all of those worlds. And here, on top of really decent character development, I think some people have criticized it as being quick or shallow, but how much can you really do in a 90-minute movie? I liked it, and I recommend that as the kind of horror movie I both love watching and maybe would like to make one day.
Yeah, I have an appreciation for horror now. And in the 80s, horror was boring because it was the slasher era.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school and college,
Okay.
So I thought I didn't like horror. And then the kid got me into horror because she came home from when she was 12 or 13, came home from a sleepover party and said, we watch horror movies. Now that's all I'm going to watch. And so I watch with her and I get really scared.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love
it. Do you like it though?
I do like it.
I do too. Like I want to be scared, you know? I go to be scared.
She says I scare her more than the movies do because when something scary happens, my whole I try to relax on my limbs so I don't hurt something, but I shout.
It's a reflex.
I give myself over.
Oh, that's really cute. I love that.
Yeah. So of your 3 recommendations, I'm probably going to see Mama first because we're always looking for a good horror film.
Yeah, that one again is kind of like a suspenseful slow burn as opposed to I'm curious what are some of your guys' top favorites or ones that you've seen that are notable
I can say that one of the favorite ones we've watched together is The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh, I've seen that one. That's good.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's way better than you expect.
Oh, that's a good one. Talk about character development, too, even outside the horror. My first movie I ever produced was a horror film. When I say produced, I helped to bring it to fruition. But I had lots of questions about and I acted in it. And I had a lot of questions about the creative process, the script, even from the beginning, that they didn't really worry about too much. It was just they wanted my writer and director buddies. They just wanted to make a film and put their name on it and everything, with some cool aspects that ended up being dated by the time we actually put the movie out. But I really think that horror, if not originally, evolved into, originally it definitely was more of a genre of allegory for larger fears in our everyday life, demonstrated through zombies or ghosts. The topic of ghosts, I think something that's so close to me is, that was the first band, Crosses or whatever, Ghost Sex Rock, that I talked about. It's the closest thing that I have to any kind of spirituality or religion. I really do believe, or I want to believe, that people's souls are too special to just evaporate when we die, I want to think that they go somewhere, and the most comforting idea to me is that they exist on the plane and maybe have a place where they go where they feel at peace, but we can talk to them every once in a while. We can see them even when it's scary, and when I get scared of ghosts I don't know. It's something that it's pretty dear. Yeah.
And it's pretty universal.
Yeah.
Is there anything more universal than ghost stories?
Oh.
Right? Like it's just a human thing to believe. I mean, I actually know from reading some books that all human religions started with ancestor worship, because right? You always assume your grandparents are watching over you. Yeah. And then you eventually turn that into, angels and stuff. But yeah, ghosts. Excellent.
So we have do we have underrated and overrated?
Yeah, we've got under and over. Okay. If you want to do under and over?
Yeah, I guess both. So underrated for music. This is a band that no one, I've met one person that I mentioned this band to them and they knew who it was. They are a Canadian rock band. And they are called Nickelback. I'm just kidding. They are a Canadian rock band, and they're called Big Wreck. They've been around since the mid-'90s. And, if you like a Chris Cornell vocal, I know he's compared a lot to Ian Thornley of Big Wreck. So just to kind of put him in a box, even though his career and his writing is so much more than just being a Chris Cornell impersonator. Go and check them out. They've had, again, we're now at 3 decades of music, and they are just the most classic version of rock that is relatable. that's hard but not too hard. I call them like medium rock, and I love them because I found them really early on. They're one of my favorite discovery stories. Before I had the internet or my laptop or anything, the way I would discover music as a teenager is I would buy up people's CD collections at garage sales and flea markets and put them in my little CD Walkman. And so that's how I discovered like REM and even Nirvana. Like I discovered Nirvana on In Utero, which is their last album, and that doesn't make them kind of had to go backwards. But I discovered Big Wreck on in the like early aughts or 90s or whenever CDs existed. I don't know if they did this with cassettes. I don't remember them doing this. But companies would create mixtapes, like if that's the right word, like compilations of music that they thought was going to be hot at the time. So stuff that was really promising, because some of it, like I'm like, maybe I've heard of this band, that they didn't become the superstars that maybe they thought, or maybe it was just supposed to be a vibe. Like I think what these companies were trying to do was put out a vibe, and this one was on, I believe, a Pepsi compilation. Pepsi, like, yeah, they would just, and I still have these CDs to this day because it's so special. Like any like actual album of bigger bands, you can go like get on iTunes, but you can't ever find these compilations again. And so they had this one song on there called How Would You Know, and it wasn't even one of their singles at the time. It was like a second single or something of their first album. And I just loved it for years, and it was one of those things where I was like, let me see if this band has made any other music. And then I went and found them and basically followed their career as they continue to make albums and tour. Ian Thornley is probably in his 50s or 60s, but he still fucking rocks so much. And that is the band that no one's ever heard of.
I haven't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean much because
Yeah. I cannot wait to hear about what kind of music you listen to. I think you're really keeping me in suspense because I'm so interested.
Well, but it's not about me. I'll wait till we're almost done or done. But
you know what? I think you should record
my stuff
it
is just unpopular.
Unpopular?
Yeah, I just listen to stuff that no one's heard of.
Well, I love that. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, but you end up like left out. And by the way, I hate some of the most popular music of all time.
Well, I mean, so do I. I was going to talk
really.
about my overrated band.
Oh yeah, feel free. Oh,
So,
well, do you want to do a movie?
Yeah, a deep cut movie. Yes, or like an underrated movie. Have you ever watched American Mary?
No.
Yeah, American Mary. It was made by I want to say their name is the Soska twins. And I hope I pronounced that right. I might not have. And they made this movie about a young in college surgery student, and her name's Mary, and she has to pay her tuition because she was really short on money. She decides to become a stripper. So she goes to audition to become a stripper, and she gets herself in a very precarious situation one night where she literally put that she was a med student on her resume, and she brought her resume to the strip club. And that night, somebody gets their eye shot out, and they basically take her into this other room and say, like, we're gonna give you, 10 grand right now or 5 grand, whatever they gave her. If you fix him up, you save his life. This guy, one of our hands, and never talk about this to anybody. And she takes the money and she does it. And off of her reputation, she gets new clients, particularly in the body modification community, because she's going to be on the down low. And she's going to be kind of cheap because, again, she's just a student. So she finds herself dabbling in this world. So it's very twisted. It's very sexy. It's very sassy. And I talk about a movie I really just enjoy and get a lot out of. It's got a really good redemption arc too. It's not a perfect movie. I've got my own criticisms about it, but I really enjoy it. If you are into any of those topics, it's really fun. It's a really fun movie.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now overrated time.
Okay. So my overrated band, I won't say overrated. Overrated is a tough word because I really understand and and commend, like, I understand their reason in the world. I understand their status. I understand their importance to a lot of people, including some of my close friends. But it's funny, it's one band that people would assume a tribute to me. In fact, in our last podcast, we talked about a director that may have fired me because I wouldn't sleep with his wife. But she was going to take me to this person's concert, and I was trying to think about how to tell her that I don't really like the band, but it is Green Day. They are staples in their genre, in the pop punk genre. But to me, for some reason, they always sounded, because one thing about my music taste, which is weird as a writer, because like I always, I listen to the word, I listen to words and what people say in the messages. When it comes to music, sometimes I really just do like music for the sound, and the sound almost exclusively. Sometimes it takes a long time for me to even look at the lyrics of some of my favorite songs to know what they're actually writing about. I really, when it comes to music and why I love certain bands or certain sounds, it does have to just do with what it does to my ears. And so for Green Day, they always sound like a parody of punk to me. And maybe that's because a bunch of people parodied them, but they never hit me like the authentic punk band that maybe they are, because they did say a lot. They were the punk band of my generation, like a lot of bands say, like, I think recently, I think that they put out music about the Trump administration, and somebody made a comment like, when did Green Day get political? When did Green Day get political? They were political the whole time. They were my generation's, dissidents to, the Bush administration. They were valid. I just never really got into their sound. I never really took them seriously for their sound. They always sounded to me like just regurgitations of everything else that was playing, even though I understand and accept that they might have been one of the first. It's maybe not. Yeah, it just happened that they never hit my ear right. So a bunch of people always assumed me to be a Green Day fan from doing rec radio, and I would report on them. I would report on lots of bands that I didn't necessarily always listen to. But they were definitely one of them that people mistaked me as a fan for most, yeah.
I'll just share one true story about Green Day, which is we went to the Hella Mega Tour, which was supposed to be in 2020 but got delayed. And I think they rescheduled it to 2021. So it's this big rock show, 3 bands.
3 bands. Okay, do you remember what the 3 bands were?
Oh, yeah, of course. It was Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and Green Day.
Oh, I would have loved the other 2, yeah.
And I'm a massive Weezer fan.
Yeah.
My wife is a big fan of the other 2 bands.
Okay.
So I was willing to go. And we got good seats, because when you're old, you get the good seats. And, of course, Weezer was amazing.
Yeah.
And then,
I saw Weezer.
And Fall Out Boy was not bad. They were a lot better than I thought they were going to be. They're actually pretty solid. Yeah. I was impressed.
When it comes to my generation, like, those are the guys that I actually crown. Like,
and then when Green Day comes on stage, I sincerely thought when they started each song, I was like, well, didn't they already play that?
Oh,
and then they play another song. Wait, didn't they already play that? Because the truth is, they have they're just so redundant. They're the most redundant band I've ever heard.
Okay. I feel validated.
It's not a bad song.
Yeah.
But it's the same song
totally.
over and over. And they have their quicker song, and then they have their slower song.
Yeah, sure.
And I guess there's 3 quicks for everyone. But overrated. With films, I always say, you're not saying it's bad, you're just saying it could be great, but it's held in higher esteem than it should be.
Yeah.
And what can I say? Weezer opened the show while the sun was still out, and people were and it was 1/4 filled, and everyone was there for Green Day, and I'm like, man.
Interesting.
I was like, don't you realize that first band was playing amazing music, and this band is just these really nice guys. I have nothing bad to say about Green Day except that I can't tell one song from the other.
Sure.
And I'm an aficionado. I have a right to be a music snob. So anyway, that's my Green Day experience.
Yay. Okay.
They're so overrated. All right.
And the movie is pretty relevant right now. I mean, it's so weird. it's very, very relevant right now, but it is Amelia Perez. I got to see a screening of it at the Directors Guild, which I feel so fortunate of. It was, a member screening, and I was a +1 because obviously I'm not a SAG holder. But I saw a screening, and I went in pretty much completely blind. I didn't know what this movie was about. I didn't know. Did I know it was a musical? I don't know if I knew it was a musical. Now, I personally, there are musicals I do really like, but for the most part, like that I especially like for some reason, if they're really kind of like outside the norm. But I, in general, don't take well to musicals, especially if they are show-tuney. Like, I'm a rock fan. I'm not a pop fan. I'm not, I don't really care for show tunes. They don't hit my ear right. They're corny, in my opinion. And gosh, if corny could cover a soundtrack, which is weird because the subject matter is outside of, it's not corny, it's not supposed to be, but it is. I felt so offended, even though I'm not of any of the groups that are represented in the movie. And there are many different sides right now. Obviously, like it once did it win the Golden Globe for Best Musical?
I don't know.
I think it did.
I don't know.
And I don't and if Wicked was in that race, if they're on this year's ballot, which they released kind of late, so I don't know when that ballot starts or ends. I've got a bone to pick with somebody. But yeah, there were obviously lots of critics, and there were lots of reasons that I was able to articulate why I didn't like the movie. For example, it felt really weird and superficial that as soon as this murderous drug kingpin became a woman, all of a sudden she became a different person, and then also was absolved of her sins. I don't get that. That was weird. So yeah, I mean, I could see what it was going for. But I also learned from an essay I watched really recently to kind of break down what everybody's problem is that the director didn't really do much research into either of the major minorities that he's representing. So, and you would say, well, I mean, the lead actress is a trans person. And I say actor, I call myself
as
an actor.
a non-gender, yeah.
And so I don't. So that was like almost a case for whatever was written was checked off by the community, which, I mean, one person is never speaking for the whole community. But even in that same token, I think anybody would be really excited and maybe permit a lot of things, or maybe be ignorant to a lot of things. Well, it was a mostly Spanish-speaking movie. So, and I think that, she's being praised as one of the better actors of the movie. Even though I think Zoe Saldana's did an actually really good job. And when I saw her first numbers, I was thinking, oh, this might be one of those cool musicals. And then it got real weird. I'll say that. I know that a lot of people are on different sides of it. I'm definitely not a fan.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I'm about to make you laugh.
What?
I made reference during your other podcast interview about was it during the podcast or when we weren't recording? But the queer panel comment that I had to hunt down and delete was a stab at Amelia Perez.
Oh.
It was someone said, please go out there, support queer cinema, support trans cinema, just support us, go to the films, but don't go see that.
Now,
and the person who said it was like, I can't have that out there.
Yeah.
So I haven't revealed who said it.
No.
And I doubt they'll ever find out.
You can delete.
Someone could put the pieces together, but okay. I am not sweating it.
No.
I don't think that this podcast that's listened to by filmmakers who, on the festival circuit they're not going to go hunt it down and try to figure it out. It's just apparently it's a flawed film because now I know two people with good taste who say skip it.
Yeah. I mean I wouldn't put my taste on films on a pedestal just because I honestly haven't seen enough, but just by my first impression I was not having a good time.
Well, I will to wrap us up, I'll share one more thing, which is for me, my favorite movie musical, especially for the music, is Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Sure. Oh, that's a good. That's
I think
a good
that
one
music.
Instead of,
I cry. I cry throughout that film, and every musical number in that movie makes me weep.
I think I watched that one in high school. Talk about camp in the most positive sense of the word and fun.
But that
gender.
Origin of Love song, where like it just describes that, like in heaven there were human beings that were two males, two females, and a male and a female, and then they got split apart.
Yeah.
And then you find I'm going to start crying by talking about it.
Oh.
That's right. That's like the definition of romance, and it was all inclusive. Right?
Yeah.
Which was amazing for the time, because it was a long time ago.
I think it was made by queer people, which
it was,
which makes a difference.
And it was an off-Broadway thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they made the film, and then the musical started touring more because the film made it more famous, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm torn. I actually think the film is better than the stage versions I've seen.
You can have that opinion.
I saw the one with the American Idol dude who's really good.
Adam Lambert?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played Hedwig.
Fan. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's got to be cool.
I think it was him, or was it? Oh no, it was the Glee guy. It was the Glee guy, Chris.
Chris Colfer.
No, I think I'm way off. Anyway, that's my musical.
That's great. That's a good one. That's a good one to love.
I love that film so much.
I haven't seen it in years. I watched it in high school. I should give it another watch.
It's lovely. It's lovely. All right. Well, I think we're good. And I am skipping the lesser known to seek out because because that's actually all your films are lesser known to seek out.
Yeah.
It's too vague a question. If you want, though, I'm going to put you on the spot. You want to share a guilty pleasure?
Okay. A guilty pleasure of like media to watch?
Music or a film. Just something that to like.
Oh, I know. I have an answer right off the top of my head. And it's YouTube. And it's Reddit stories. Smosh reads Reddit stories. Me and my bestie kind of got addicted to them. And it's funny because we're watching the show become more popular all the time. Like just last week, they'll upload it every Saturday. And one of Smosh is one of the oldest channels on YouTube, run by Anthony Padilla and Ian Hecox. And they've since had to create an entire cast, a whole company, off and expanded. And so their cast sits on couches and just reads some of the craziest Reddit stories that they find about anything, about like revenge, love, just people writing in about their true stories. And then they'll weigh in or really just respond in whatever way they do. And these are like improv comedians, so it's really funny to hear what they come up with off the cuff, but it's all genuine of what they're hearing. And some of these stories are outrageous just to hear. But I would never like go read the stories myself. I love the format of them weighing in on what they're saying. And so there's a lot of channels that I think do a similar thing. And maybe they, I don't know, maybe they even stole it from somebody else. I'm not really sure, but I think they do it really well. And so the other week, one of the cast members, they're like, oh, how you doing? Like the standard, like, oh, how you guys doing? What's up? And one of the cast members goes, I'm kind of nervous because I just realized how popular this show is. Like she said that on air as they were filming. So it's not going to be a secret much anymore, but it's a fun time, and I watch it every Saturday it comes out. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, I'll wrap us up. Okay. We'll do. Yes, there will be clickable show notes. Yeah. Thank you, Jess Paul, for being here and talking about all this fun stuff. Oh, this great conversation. All right. So, what am I supposed to talk about? First, this podcast. Be nice, like and subscribe. Take 30 seconds to be kind. And if you want to learn more, go to discoverindiefilm.com. That's where you can learn about this podcast or the TV series that was born out of it. On social media, it's always at DIFWins, including Blue Sky, just a little thing that Blue Sky is like an open source thing that's less algorithmically. Really? I don't know much about it. Yeah, it was like a counter to Twitter, but now it's just like open source and not bad. But it's also, I just like it because
for me, social media was about staying in touch with friends who aren't around, who are like in other parts of the country or other parts of the world, and the Meta-owned social media now is all about trying to addict me to other shit and show as many ads. And all I want to do is see what my friends have to say.
And obviously, like the stuff that is that is the most contentious will rise to the top because it has the most.
Oh, angertainment. Yeah. They tried.
I've never heard that before,
really?
Jeff.
Oh, I did not coin it. I didn't coin it, but yeah, it's
angertainment. Oh my God.
So I have to get all the politics away and this and that online because I'm just trying to see whose kids are graduating and this and that and the other and look at everyone's pets and as much as I love all the pet videos. I realize that I can just go pet the cute little guinea pig Chester when I feel like seeing something. But I really do. There's no better video than like a bunny rabbit and a cat that are best friends and hang out in the living room. I get it. They're cute. Yeah. But I don't need to. I'd rather read a book than watch videos, animal videos. Barely, believe me. I'm addicted, but I've broken the addiction for now. So anyway, that's my blue sky thing. God, I'm gonna talk that way all the time now. If you want to learn more about the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, where Jess's film had its Los Angeles premiere, it's every December, and this year is the 10th anniversary. So go to ShermanOaksFF.com or it's at ShermanOaksF on social media. It's sister festival that's also enjoying its 10th year. Film Invasion Los Angeles. We hold that every June. Go to filminvasionla.com and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And if you love indie film, check out indiechannel.tv. All right, Jess, we're done.
We done.
And I'm about to tell you some bands I like.
Yeah, I can't wait. This is.
Well, they're probably just like weird esoteric shit that you're like, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, no, I cannot wait. I'm gonna be adding them. Are they? Do you think that some of them are on Spotify?
Oh, I think they all are.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.